you have been a captain of Delhi, and you've seen how Delhi, chase their target today. Like they were chasing 137, but they did not do the same mistake that SRH or KKR did. If you have
Yeah.
to give credit to Steven Smith and Dhawan.
100%, and also in terms of selection. So if you think back to when I say selection, I'm talking more your batting order. Sending Steve Smith in at number 3 to kind of create a partnership. He has the experience, he has the know-how of how to play spin well. So sending him at number 3 and just giving the team a good base, because I mean he scored 33 of 29, so it's just above a run a ball. But on a surface like that, and also the context of the game, the nature of the wicket, you understand how important that 33 is. And obviously, Dhawan, he is, I mean, he's the orange cap holder, firstly, but also what was a critical moment in that game was actually the strategic timeout. And that over after the strategic timeout, Chahar was bowling, and you saw that the left-hander made the decision, obviously based upon a conversation that they had in the timeout, to try and be the aggressor there, because that was a perfect matchup for the left-hander. And you saw that he was trying to dominate and trying to make that a big over. Unfortunately, he got out, yes, but in the context of the game and also the conditions and the matchup, I thought that was right thinking. And at times you've got to ask yourself the question: was the think? There's two questions you have to ask when something doesn't go wrong. When something goes wrong, sorry, you got to ask yourself: was the thinking right, and was the execution right? So if the thinking right, you can handle the execution, because that's something that you can practice. But if the thinking's wrong, that develops into a discussion. So that was a great strategy from Delhi point of view, trying to put the sort of give the punch back to Mumbai, because they were kind of in the game at that point in time. There was a difference of 10 to 12 balls, and now all of a sudden they're trying to get after it. So that was a critical moment. And obviously there was some jitters with losing that wicket of Dhawan. But in the end, I think it was Lalit Yadav and Shimron Hetmeyer got them over the line, which was always going to be a difficult chase on that kind of surface. So you've got to take your hat off to them. Batting second and winning a game is never easy in Chennai.
JP,
Yep.
what makes Mumbai franchise so very good? They have been dominating IPL after the time they started winning from 2013. What do you think as a player that makes them as a franchise so solid?
Yeah, thanks, Anis. That's a good question. And first and foremost, let me say this. I think there's a family feel to them. All right. So when you get selected to play and represent Mumbai, you feel accepted and wanted within the environment. It doesn't matter what your pay packet is. There's an attention to you as a person, as a player. They give the same amount of respect and attention to the player that hasn't played a game, as opposed to Rohit Sharma, the captain. There's no egos. The leadership there are very much one that's creating a good culture. And I think for any sustainable and a successful environment and organization, even a team, starts with a good culture. So that's the first and foremost. And I think there's such an attention to detail when it comes to roles and responsibility for each and every player. So there's a lot of homework and research that goes into the type of players they want. Making sure that the personalities match the players as well. So that's the kind of research that they go through. And obviously they've worked out a formula that works for them. There's a great group of experience as well as youth, and there's a great camaraderie within the management as well as the players. And obviously we know that the owners, they heavily involved in the culture and representing the team, particularly if they win or lose. There's a representation in that environment from the ownership and encouraging them, speaking to them. So all these factors come into play. And I think, just a well-oiled organization that have worked out a winning formula and have managed to sustain it for a long period of time. There's been some changes here and there when it comes to management, yes, but the core from a player's perspective has really stuck. Obviously led by Rohit Sharma, and that is a recipe for great success going forward for them.
In the last 4 games in Chennai, they've stumbled, but they have found a way to win. But today it was something else.
Yeah, it's a tough one because you look at the start that they had, and Surya Kumar Yadav and Rohit Sharma, the captain, they were building quite a good partnership. And if you look back to last year's successful tournament that they had, there was a big reliance on that middle order. The middle order was the engine room that really produced the goods for them. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to fire just yet. But the quality of the Pandya brothers, Pollard, that they're going to fire at some point. And that's something that I was listening to Rohit Sharma in his post match there. He was talking about, understanding the surface and making smarter decisions. And obviously, you think back to last year playing in the UAE. Obviously, the tracks were a little bit easier from a batting perspective. Obviously, playing in Chennai, we know what it's about. It's slow, it turns. The dew factor plays a part as well. So yeah, they're going to need to have some hard conversations about a style of play, and also being able to address that middle order, because as we know, that's the engine room. So just allows that top order to play with freedom.